Hello and welcome to another episode of Puttering Outdoors. Today we're going to try to fix this welder. In one of the last videos, whenever I let go of the trigger, it would still keep feeding the wire. So I think it's because I melted the wire or the cable during one of my welds. It laid up against a hot weld and it melted. So it might be shorting in there. I thought for sure that I had fixed it properly, but we're going to take the welder apart and test that theory out. On one of the videos, somebody commented that I have a lot of splatter and they recommended that I switch polarity, but I've always had my ground, I guess you want to call it a ground, set up to the positive, so it is already reverse polarity. It's quite possible that the welding wire that I use is not the best quality, and the flux that's in it might not be the best quality as well, so that's probably why I got a lot more splatter than normal. I've known from the get-go that I should have my ground as the positive and the actual welding wire as the negative. I've had that setting on since I got this welder. This is the welder. It's nothing spectacular. I think it was 150 bucks on Amazon. So let me take off the hood so we can test the conductivity of the switch wires to see if moving the wire around will actually start shorting out the wire or not. So let me zip those screws off to take off the hood, and we'll go from there. There you go. A lot of screws, but very easy to take apart. And by the way, it is not plugged in. I would never dare to open this while it's plugged in. Now it's just to figure out where these wires are. So it looks like the wires are these two here. These are the two white ones coming out here. Those are the two that are shorting out. I just got to trace them back to see which plug it goes to, see if it's shorting out. Okay, the two wires from the gun are these two wires here coming out from this port here. And if you follow these two wires, it shows that it's these two bottom white wires. The yellow wires go back to somewhere's in the board in here. So I just got to check the continuity of these two wires, and I'll just use my probes, stick them in there like so, set my own meter to see if it's continuous or not. Okay, I got my probes stuck in there, so now when I press the trigger, you can hear it beep. You can see that when I press the trigger, it does activate. So now I'm going to try to move the wire around and see if it is going to start shorting out without me pressing the trigger. It doesn't seem to be doing anything wrong. I don't know. Well, that was uneventful. unless it is really with the trigger when it gets hot. Well, I don't know what to say about that. I'm gonna undo my tape job and make sure everything's still okay in here. Well, as okay as it can be, I guess. I'll give you a closer look of how it looks after it melted. So here's the melted wire. And this was the only part of the wire that melted through that could have shorted out that I saw. I'm gonna look at the rest of the wires, make sure. Those are pretty deep in there and they look okay. This one here never melted through. The main wire, it carries the jolt, I guess. That one here had melted too, but it still seems okay. Yeah, I see nothing wrong with this at all. And this is the wire that carries the actual, or the conduit that brings the wire, the flux core wire. The two trigger wires here, and the wire that carries all the amps. Everything seems fine. I mean, I've been moving this all along and you never heard it beep like that. So it must be the switch, because I took this trigger apart. If you didn't watch that video, I did take the trigger apart and I looked at it and there was no other wires melted. I unsoldered the leads from the switch itself. After I did that and put it back together, it was still happening where the wire was still coming out after I let go of the trigger. Can't seem to make it happen anymore. Oh well, I guess. Let me just button this back up and call it good. I was going to turn off the multimeter, but I decided to leave it on in case I hear a beep while doing this. Good as new. I guess I'll just put this back together. All that for nothing. Well, I guess I tested a theory. It's not for nothing. It's so cheap. But that's okay. It does what I want it to do. It's not really recommended to use this, especially on thin metal like this. But if you go slow and you take your time and you let go of the trigger as soon as you feel any tension, don't try to drive it in like crazy. See how I got a very loose hold on it, so I let the torque move the drill in my hand. These cheap welders, I know they're cheap. I know they're not as good as Lincoln welders or, you know, the $8, $9, $1,200 welders. However, these allow hobbyists or people like me that had never welded before the opportunity to actually get into this, you know, trade, or to, you know, do a little bit at home without spending that much money. And they do a good job for what they are. I mean, of course, you would never want to use something like this on a professional job. they're just not meant to handle the kind of workload that a professional job would include. But for home use, these are quite capable. I mean, you saw what I built with it. I mean, I built an ice resurfacer, I built a sump bucket, I fixed up some things with it. It's I mean, I added grab hooks to all of the implements that I own for the tractor. Very handy to have around. And there you go, it's back together. A little simple machine. I will probably upgrade this sometime in the future, I don't know when, but this is working fine so far. Here, let me plug it in and just try the trigger, see if it's gonna... Pardon the noise. Seems to be working fine. I don't know. We'll leave it as is, and you know, we'll see how it works in the next projects or two, and we'll go from there. I've never really had problems with this thing until that issue there, and I think it was probably caused by me. I'm not sure, or maybe because I was using it for too long and the handle got too warm, because it was really warm. I could not hold this without my welding gloves. The duty cycle on these are not that high, so you shouldn't be using them as long as I did to do the long welds. I should have probably gave it a break, but you know, impatient as I am, I just had to go through it. So I'm probably my own worst enemy for that part. But anyways, this is the ssimder MiG 140G. They don't sell this exact model anymore on Amazon, but that's where I got it. They do still have some ssimder models on Amazon. I think they're a little bit better. They have digital displays now and everything. This one here doesn't even have a chart to what settings to use for what gauge of metal or what thickness of metal. I just gotta, you know, go by feel, go by test. I get to choose the size of my wire, and that's just about it. I hope you enjoyed this. Sorry it wasn't any fabricating or tractor videos, but you know, it's been raining here for a solid week. It's really crappy outside, so gotta be in the garage, gotta find something to do, and this is one thing I wanted to get checked off my list, so I got it done, and we'll see how it works. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you next time.